On today's show, how has Jason Kidd been as the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks? Do we have to readjust the goals for this Mavericks team now that we're almost 20 games in? And how addressable are the Mavs' three biggest issues?
See, that intro was so much better than the last one.
I'm never going to tell you what the first one was. On today's Locked On Mavs.
Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media manager and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, he's messing me up, mocking me. This episode is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want or need. You can even negotiate better deals or for those that you want to keep. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Subscribe and download the podcast wherever you get your podcast. We're also on YouTube. Joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com, the mocking man, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, the Cavs game, it's behind us.
No, it's not. It's still
Can
there.
we agree that it's done? It's
just
passed?
take one look at Reddit, and the whole world is like the Mavericks. The Mavericks suck. They've never made any moves to improve the team. Everything is garbage.
Okay, no lie though. Some of the screenshots you sent me today from Reddit were incredible.
the Mavsikists were out in full swing yesterday.
You know, we used to do this thing. So over the offseason, this is gonna be one of those pods, but over the offseason, we would do these game pods on Fridays.
Yeah.
And so shout out to the OGs who listened to all the game pods over the years. And one of the segments we used to do was this Satnam Shame. We would look at these like crazy like posts on social media. A lot of times the Mavs Facebook. We used to use people's like actual Twitter handles. Then a dude really came after us like really hard and was like, I'm gonna sue you or something for using my tweet or something. And it was wild. But anyway, Reddit at the same level as like Mavs Facebook for some wild stuff? Because of it
has to be at this
incredible.
point. This season, it's gone even farther than it has in the past.
I think my favorite bit right now, is we have to hold like the owner accountable.
We have to speak truth to power.
And I just think that's the funniest thing that we like we have power. Like, yeah,
that post specifically said media and people need to hand it to Cuban, and so then I sent you that, and what was the best response to it was someone said, "What does it mean?" Someone said, "Hold him accountable how? Hold Mark Cuban accountable how?" And someone said, "Hold accountable equals bitch and moan on Reddit."
Well, the blame the media narrative is always the best thing in sports. It's always it's the
why
card
didn't you trade for blah blah blah? What do you mean?
Yeah, or like this team sucks, or this friend, or this like move sucked, or this draft sucked because you, the media, didn't hold them accountable. It's my favorite.
Let's get into what we're talking about today. Jason Kidd as a head coach. We've had 19 games or so of Jason Kidd. What have we thought about the way he adjusts, the way that he changes, the way that he speaks to the media? I had an interesting conversation with Tim Cato and Jonathan Tjarks during the game, the Cavs game the other day, because there's nothing else to do during the game. About Jason Kidd and the way that he speaks to the media, because Jason Kidd has very rarely ever said anything negative about a player or about the team or even about anything really. He's really tried to be positive and to be the face of the Mavericks in a positive way. And I compared him to a historical figure that has been recently portrayed in a very popular musical. Jason Kidd is trying to be Aaron Burr from Hamilton. If you guys have seen Hamilton, you'll know that Aaron Burr was a guy in history that tried to get power and tried to keep climbing up the ropes and climbing up, and he had good reason to. He was an orphan. He pulled himself up by his bootstraps, all that kind of stuff. He kept trying to get up and raise up the ladder. But he would do it like almost at any means necessary, and he would bounce from one party to another. He would try to do all these things. He like basically at the end of the play, spoiler alert for history.
I've never seen this.
For history of the play. It comes to the end where it's between Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, who had been at odds. They're on separate ends of the spectrum, and they have been at odds and basically enemies. And Hamilton has to decide, all right, do I want Jefferson to be president or Aaron Burr to be president? And he essentially gets to decide because he's one of the delegates. And
where the crap is this going?
At the end of this, Hamilton goes, Jefferson has my vote. Jefferson has beliefs. Burr has none. And it almost feels, in the way that Jason Kidd has spoken to the media, that he has it almost seems like he has no beliefs about things in the way that Aaron Burr did, where everything is positive. We have my new favorite drop.
This is a positive world. We'll take the positive. He was +2.
We have my new favorite drop, and it seems like Jason Kidd has been very close to the vest on a lot of things, where we thought he may be a little more open at the beginning of the season, and now it's just everything's going to be positive. He's really trying to put himself into a positive light, and he's not going to say anything negative or about the team where this is what we need to do better. It really doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I think he's more indifferent with media. I think it's more of a, we only compare him to Rick because we were, talking with Rick, if we want to say that.
Well, I compare him to guys like Steve Kerr and what I've seen from Alvin Gentry and a bunch of there's Frank Vogel. I mean, there's a lot. All the coaches in the league basically is what I'm comparing him to.
Well, I'm comparing him to Rick in the sense of Rick always seemed to be annoyed by media, and I get it. I mean, he's been in the league for so long, and snarky, the clapbacks, the understanding the media game, but not Rick, all the Rickisms of media relationships. But
Rick had a game, and Rick had a purpose for the things that he would say and do in the media. I think it feels like Jason Kidd is coming out and he'll just say, okay, whatever is the most positive, I will say that thing.
Yeah, but I think he's a little bit more transparent. I mean, he's more transparent with injuries. I remember when Maxey went down. I mean, him saying 7 to 10 days, even though it was past 10 days, we used to never see that. I think he's a little bit more transparent. He's a little bit.
Yeah, but ever since then, he said, I'm not a doctor anytime we ask about injuries.
Someone told him, hey, don't put a time on it.
Hey, don't say days. Don't say a number of days.
But I think he's more of, hey, he knows media is doing their job, but I just don't think he really cares as much about it. And he's just hey, cool, we'll talk. He leans into the bit too. The whole thing about Moses Brown, was this portion of Mavs fans, all that stuff that have been clamoring for Moses Brown. And then bam, they all leaned into it, including, Jason Kidd in that. So he leaned into the bit, had fun with it. Even the Mark Cuban Mavs Twitter thing that Mavs Twitter is absolutely loving right now. Don't fully understand that whole story, but it is what it is. But Kidd's leaning into the bit stuff and media stuff, but that's just the media side of Jason Kidd as a head coach. I think the basketball side's a different conversation.
I say all this to say, does that tell us anything about Jason Kidd as a coach? The way that he speaks to media, the way that he says, the way that he will, all focus on just all the positives and not seem to have any real criticisms except for that last game where you kind of had to.
Well, I think that's the route to go. You're a brand new head coach.
Is he holding fast to anything though? Do we feel like he has strong beliefs as to what this team should look like, what this team should be? I'm not sure.
I don't know because look, I mean, the joke about Moses Brown, well, the fans will be happy. The leadership council decided on Dwight Powell, as the starter,
making the players happy, making the fans happy. It's
exactly. So, but to his defense on that, I'm not even saying that's a positive or negative. What was the one thing that we had read everything about Jason Kidd was the control freak of his way. He wanted the power. He wanted to surpass people in Brooklyn and all this stuff. And since, we're almost 20 games here in Dallas, and it does seem like he has, seeking out other people's opinions and, this council and all, however you feel about it. So I think that has been, it's just been his relationship as a coach, how he's coaching with media, with players and everything. It's been the number one thing that I've been watching, mainly because just by default that we've had the same head coach for 13 years up until now. I
think it's too early to tell if he's been good or not for the Mavericks.
I think
there's a lot of other factors, I think, but I thought it was interesting the way that he spoke to media. I made that connection and I thought, has that made him a good coach? And I wonder if what Jason Kidd is trying to do and trying to really change his image in the way that Aaron Burr in the musical, if he's trying to change his image so much that it's doing a disservice to the Mavericks. That's a question I have right now that I'm not sure that I can answer. I'm not sure if anyone can answer that, but it's a big question for the Mavs.
Yeah, and we've seen him as a coach. We've seen him make adjustments. We've seen him switch up some things. I mean, how many centers have we seen start the season so far for the Mavs? Under Rick, it probably would have taken a little bit longer. Like, I know the Dwight Powell experiment for a lot of people probably felt like an eternity, but we're not even 20 games in, and Dwight is, getting 8 minutes a game now. He saw that adjustment. Like, he's at least trying some things out. Willie being being sick, he didn't have to put Moses in there. He could have put Dwight Powell in there. He could have started KB at the 5, but he's trying out Willie. So that's something I'm learning about Kid, that we're 20 games in, basically 19 games in, and he's at least willing to try new things, throw new things out there. And in the midst of all of that, they're 10-9, fourth in the West.
Fourth in the West, but like 2 games out of 11th, right? I looked at the standings today and just said, oh my gosh, where Portland is.
They're one of 4 teams with a winning record in the West.
Yeah, there's not many. All right, coming up, let's get into what the goals need to be for this Mavericks team. Do we have to readjust the goals for the Mavericks now that we've seen about 20 games or so? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, there's always going to be a debate between LeBron and Jordan. Maybe not for Isaac Harris.
Oh, what ad is this?
But people will always make some kind of a debate. When it comes to helping you hire all-star talent, all legend talent faster, the GOAT is Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, just like LeBron needs a better marketing team to convince Isaac that he is the GOAT. Indeed is a hiring partner that gets you what you really want, a short list of quality candidates as fast as possible, because you can do it all. Attract, interview, and hire all on Indeed. So go check out Indeed. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates. Indeed can help you hire the right people right now, the right people that can help you convince Isaac that LeBron is the GOAT. Indeed partners with you at every step of the hiring process. You can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed, Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Go check out Indeed right now and get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job at Indeed.com/locked. $75 job credit at Indeed. That'll get everybody looking at your job post earlier than anyone else. Indeed.com/locked. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Also, want to tell you about, Built Bar. Built.com. I got one right here.
Bruh. Just ate one.
Yeah, coconut brownie chunk bros. Let's go. The best protein bar I've ever had. And right now, they still have some deals. Go check it out. You can get 20% off everything. It's not going to last long. So go check it out. Use the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED20. See if that code is still available, LOCKED20. Ooh, they have a Built Crave. Built Crave, new bar. Go check it out. They always have new stuff on Built.com. Go check it out. Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED20 or LOCKED15 if that one doesn't work. Check it all out by the time you're listening to this. Coconut brownie chunk, you can't go wrong. It's absolutely delicious. Built.com/ or then go and use the promo code LOCKED20. All right, Isaac Harris. The goals for the Mavericks. Now, at the beginning of the season, we made some predictions. I think you had the Mavericks going to the finals. A lot of those predictions are just fun. I think a lot of those predictions are board bets type predictions. Okay. A lot of those are just fun. We want to just, look back on them, but and we're feeling optimistic at the beginning of the season. But I think we both thought this Mavericks team should take a step forward. They should win a playoff series. This Mavericks team should be a little bit better in the regular season because they're not going to have to deal with the COVID situation they dealt with last year. Hopefully, the Mavericks were about 10% better talent-wise than they were last year. And so then they should be able to take a step forward. Is the goal now just to make the playoffs? Or are we still looking at that goal of the Mavericks need to, win a playoff series in order for the season to be a success?
Goal's still the same. It doesn't change. The goal can't be to make the playoffs at this point. Like, nothing's changed in my opinion as far as like what the goal is. The goal is still you make the playoffs and you move past round 1. Like that's success for me. I hope that, the team's
make
going to make
the playoffs and lose in round 1 again. That's not a success.
No, not to me. I mean, it's like who are you facing in round 1 that you're losing? I mean, I guess Phoenix or Golden State.
The way the West is right now, I have no idea. It seems like the top 3 teams are going to be Warriors, Suns, Jazz, and so hopefully the Mavericks stay in that 4th spot or 5th spot, because if you go 6, 7, 8, 7 and 8, you're in the play-in. But if you stay in, if you get to 6, all of a sudden you're playing one of those top 3 teams, and that's when I get concerned about if this team is going to get out of the first round.
But I'm trying to say, of like, let's say you finish 6th. And you're facing Utah in the first round and you lose to Utah, that's still a failure to me. Like,
yeah.
Utah is not so good and there's like in such a different level than Dallas that I'm sitting there saying, you know what? Utah is what?
If we're going to disparage Utah, we have to do it in whisper tones so that our boss isn't here.
Utah is not that good.
What a crap city. What a crap team.
But no, and I think there's a different conversation for like a team like Phoenix. They make the first round, they lose to Phoenix. I mean, it's still a failure of like, hey, you needed to get past, that first round. But I still think the goal's the same. I mean, they're right now they're 4th, and I know the whole thing about, oh my gosh, who cares about the record?
They are 1 game out of 11th. I'm not sure we should be touting their 4th in the West thing right now.
It's not a touting because of we've went over this a million times. It's not a touting of like, this is how good they are. It's let's throw the record out of saying, man, it feels like this team has struggled so much, and yet Reddit is on fire, and yet they're still like, they could very well, like, if you just watch this team and watch certain sequences, you watch that Cavs game, you're like, dang, why are we not 13th in the West right now? But they're not. They've won 10 games already. So at least they're not in the hole. That's the only thing that at least they're not the Pelicans. Watch, they're going to lose to the Pelicans probably night in my joke against
2 games in a row. If they lose both of them, then all of a sudden they're below 500 and you're going to be eating your words.
But like New Orleans hasn't had Zion for so long, and they've lost so many games. It feels like they're in the hole so much that no matter what happens, no matter if they can turn things around, start playing better, that they're probably not going to be getting close to the playoffs this year. Dallas could have been in that very same spot of like, dang, nobody's hitting shots. KP has missed games. Luka's missed games. Luka's not even in shape yet. Like, all this first-time head coach, like, we could go all down through that line, and they're not in a hole that they can't get out of. They're at least like hovering in that, that range of the playoffs.
They're hovering above the hole.
Exactly. Watch our phrasing with this, but that's the only thing I'm looking at. I was like, hey, can we just hover in this area until we figure things out? Whether that's a trade and reworking the roster, whether that's, hey, Luka gets in better shape, they start hitting shots, like all this stuff comes together, then it's like, all right, thank you for at least like wading in the water and not, sinking.
If the Mavs, let's say they lose the next 2 games and they're all of a sudden in 10th in the West, is it in the hole? And all of a sudden, like, is that how tenuous this situation is and fragile this situation is 2 games either way can make it all of a sudden feel like the bottom is falling out?
No, I still wouldn't change the goal.
So if you're Portland right now, you're feeling like, oh, we're 2 games away from hovering above the hole.
This is
I'm keeping this analogy. I like it. I'm doing an analogy per segment today.
What a weird analogy. But no, I still don't think the goal would change though. Like, it would, right now, if you're telling me we're 60 games in and we're right around the like 9, 10, 11, 12 team mark, and we're fighting, it's 4 teams right there fighting for 2 spots, then the goal changes to just make the play-in tournament. Just make it and then see what happens. But right now, we're 19 games in. The goal's still the same to me. You win, you make it to the playoffs. It's a top 6 seed. You win in the first round. Then we're playing with house money, in my opinion.
Yeah, hover above the hole until the playoffs, until the end of the season. Just stay up there.
Oh my gosh.
See, I'm not at the point where they're 10-9. They're 1 game above 500. This is not. I'm not feeling good about it. This is not.
I'm not feeling great about it. I'm not sitting there saying, "Dang, this team is going to the conference finals." But I'm also not doom and gloom saying, "If we could just make the play-in tournament, that's all I'm asking for at this point." That's too early for me.
Yeah, and the West is so wide. And the reason why I'm also not in that spot where I'm saying, all right, the goals have changed. The Mavericks now just need to make the playoffs is the West is so wide open. None of those teams under the Mavericks right now scare anybody. Portland, Denver, the Lakers, Timberwolves, Clippers, Grizzlies. Like none of those teams really strike fear in the hearts of. Can you see any of those teams going on a run where they win 10 games in a row or something? Like maybe the Lakers if they figure it out, but even that team. I mean, they have the most talent of any of those other teams, but the Nuggets.
But look at all those, like the Nuggets just lost Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
PJ Dozier. We don't know when Jamal Murray's coming back. Like, I don't know what's going on with Portland. Memphis is obviously missing Ja. Lakers going to miss, LeBron for a few games. They look weird as heck.
Yep.
Minnesota, fun story. Like, I love watching Anthony Edwards play, but it's like, what do you expect from them? Clippers don't have Kawhi. They're playing good basketball, but still, it's like, so that's why I can't look at any of these teams underneath them and be like, oh my gosh, they're guaranteed so much better than the Mavericks right now. So that's just the nature of the Western Conference. When was the last time in the Western Conference that basically 20 games in for everybody that there's only been 4 teams in the West that are above 500, and that 4th team is Dallas, which is only 1 game over 500. So, I mean, basically
Memphis and the Clippers are both, and Minnesota. They're all over 500 right now.
But normally the West is so much better than what it is.
And right.
It's just not the story so far this year.
Yeah. Well, in the East, there's 11 teams over 500, right? If you just want to compare the two. So yeah. So there you go. We're not adjusting the goalpost yet. Not adjusting it just yet. The goal is still make the playoffs and win a first round series. That's what we're sticking with. That's our story. We're sticking to it. All right. Coming up, 3 problems for the Dallas Mavericks. How addressable are those 3 problems? We know what they are. We've been talking about them since honestly the off season. We've been talking about these 3 problems. They're the exact same. We'll talk about them coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about betonline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to put down some money, to bet on sports, to bet on a sporting team, to bet on college football. There's all kinds of stuff you can bet on right now. Let's look at some of those college football odds. You got college football with, let's see, Michigan versus Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. Michigan, 11-point favorite at home in the Big House. Check out that one if you want to put down some money on it.
The Blue House.
Go check it out. Alabama, Georgia, 6.5-point favorite on the road. That's a good one. If you want to put down some money, use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. You can bet on anything. They also have always NBA games coming up. Let's see if they have the Dallas Mavericks on here. Not yet, but they have Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City, the crap bowl. They have that one for December 1st. Thunder, 3-point favorite at home. Go check that out. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into this last segment here. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Locked On Mavs is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Now make your second listen today after this. Locked On NBA, we're going to check out some of the best stuff from around yesterday's episode of Locked On NBA. Tony East and Dave Watson was awesome. Love those 2 guys. All right. The 3 problems for the Dallas Mavericks. We've been talking about them for, I don't know, years. They're the exact same problems. Shooting, a secondary creator, and center. Let's rank how addressable those 3 problems are.
Well, I want to disagree just a second. Shooting,
which is weird because we talked about these before
we did. But shooting wasn't like a huge question mark going into the season for me. And it's become a question mark.
We thought it had been addressed.
Exactly, because look at last year. I pulled up percentages from last year.
Yeah.
Reggie Bullock, 44% from 3 last year.
Yep.
Sterling Brown, 44%. Dorian, 39%. Porzingis, 37%. Tim Hardaway, 39%. Maxey, 41%. Jalen Brunson, 40%. Those are really good 3-point shooting numbers.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to this season. What are we looking at? Tim Hardaway at 33%. Dorian, 33%.
Below average.
Yeah,
Below
I mean,
average.
we can keep on going on this as far as Reggie Bullock at 27%, 44% to 27%. This is why I didn't think that shooting was going to be an issue for this team, because they brought in 2 44% 3-point shooters in Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown, and these guys that were returning in Brunson, Tim, Maxey, and these guys are shooting basically 40% shooters last year. So it's kind of a newer question mark for me. So that's why if we have to rank these things of secondary creator, big man, shooting, all this stuff, shooting is on my least worrisome, I don't even know, at the bottom of that list, because I still think they have good shooters on this team. The shots just aren't falling, to quote Jason Kidd there.
So if we're talking about how addressable are these three things, I think shooting is the least addressable because it just should fix itself, right? Like,
Yeah.
they should regress back to the mean. We're not talking about bad shooters taking bad shots. Have been largely good shooters taking good shots. The shots are going to go down. I think that one is maybe I guess that's the most addressable one, because you just address it by keep shooting, right? Keep that mentality. Bring somebody in, bring some psychiatrist in. I don't know, like do the Ted Lasso thing and bring in. The Mavericks need their own Dr. Sharon Feldstone. That's what they need. Who is the Dr. Sharon Feldstone of the Mavericks? They need that person.
They got DK.
That's my third analogy.
If they want to bring me in, just let me know.
Bring them in. They need a chaplain. Pray over Isaac. You have not prayed enough for this team, I think, Pastor Isaac.
Oh, my prayer life has to get better.
At the end of every pod, we should pray for the Mavs 3-point shooting to change, right? Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord the threes to make.
That same guy's going to come back and sue us.
All right, so shooting is the most easily addressable because they don't have to add more talent, right? The guys taking the threes have to hit the talent. Secondary creator and center between the two of them. Which one is more easily addressable or has to be addressed more?
Secondary creator.
That one's more necessary than a center right now.
For me, it is, yeah, because I still think there's still teams and stuff that you go against that you can go small, or you could throw KP at the 5, and that's your closing lineup. Your best closing lineup is KP at the 5 and Dorian at the 4, and like you can work with that. I don't think there's any team in the league that you go against that you're like, oh, I don't need a secondary creator. Like, you need a secondary creator no matter the matchup, no matter the team, no matter the playoff series, no matter the matchup, whatever it is. Like, you always need that guy, or else we're going to see some of the same stuff that we've seen over the past few years, with Luka and the load that it's put on him. So I still think, I feel like we're just like a broken record that the secondary creator spot next to Luka is still something they haven't figured out yet. Love Jalen Brunson, love him. I just don't think Brunson is that secondary guy in a full-time role.
Yeah, to get where the Mavs want to be, Brunson should be the tertiary scorer. He should be the answer off the bench. He can't be the secondary guy to where the Mavericks want to go at this point.
I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope I am. For the Mavs' sake, I think it would be awesome if Brunson, was the Batman, or the Robin to Luka and that and all of that. But like
we've talked about this, if he is the answer, then they need an option off the bench, right? Like then they still need another option. So it's maybe not just a secondary creator. They need another creator in some way. Maybe it's a guy off the bench. Maybe it's maybe
there's a guy in Toronto that's not playing right now. And he
could be the third guy. Him and Brunson could waffle between who's the secondary creator. That's for sure. With center, I was talking to one of our hosts today on the Locked NBA about
what did David Locke say
about how it was Charles Mockler from the Clipper show, one of the Clipper bros, and we were talking about the Cavs and how the Cavs just like murked the Mavs. I think that was his word that he used. If you have two big men like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who both can defend really well, are long, all of a sudden you have a strength of your team. That doesn't necessarily equal playoff success. But if you're so strong in one area, which is just rim defense, if you can just defend the rim really well at an elite level in the NBA, then all of a sudden you can win a bunch of games in the regular season, which is why the Cavs are winning these games, because teams like the Mavs just can't get at the rim at them. And then all of a sudden, that's something that can carry you to a regular season win in the NBA. Teams can, over the course of a 7-game series, figure that out. They can figure out the other areas that they can attack the Cavs. I don't think the Mavs attack the Cavs enough, like the Kevin Loves, the Lauri Markkanens. I don't think they attack those guys enough on defense, where I think they would have in a playoff series after they had some time. But if the Mavericks got a center, it would fix a lot of their regular season issues. A secondary creator or another creator, can address their issues that they're going to have going into the playoffs. That's the difference between these two problems.
They need both. Like
they do need both for sure. All three of these things are needs.
Yeah, they need all three. They need both as far as a secondary creator and big man. But yeah, you make a great point about the Cavs thing. Does the Cavs roll the three big lineup out in a playoff series? I'm not confident that they're doing that in a playoff series. With
Yeah,
Mark,
with Lowry,
and
with Mobley, and yeah.
But man, I think it's a fun team. If I was a Cavs fan, I would love watching that team. By the way,
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, we have the new Twin Towers that can actually be Twin Towers and be good. And
yeah, and Jared Allen, so much fun, and yeah, I mean, you can't help to. One of the things I think about a lot is what Luka with a non pick and pop big would look like. Not saying like alongside KP. Like, what would Jared Allen look like with Luka Doncic? What would some of these other bigs out there look like next to Luka? And
I mean, it would be Harden and Clint Capella all over again. Where all of a sudden they're 60-win team.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they didn't have the secondary creator. Then they tried to bring one in Chris Paul, and they ran into the Warriors. And then they tried to bring one in Westbrook, and that went too far, right? They're going through the same iterations that Warriors team, that Rockets team went through, and hopefully they don't make the same mistakes.
At some point, Dorian's just going to be the starting five, and they're just going to say, "Screw the center."
And if it goes to the same thing, at some point, someone else will buy the team, like Tillman did.
Oh my gosh! What
if they went through the exact same situation the Rockets did? That'd be so weird. Then all of a sudden they run into an all-time great team and almost beat them.
Thank God that we don't have Tillman.
Yeah, there you go. All right, what do you guys think about those addressable 3 problems? Let us know. What do you think about Jason Kidd as a coach, readjusting the goalposts? Let us know on Twitter at Locked On Mavs. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Guys, thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. We'll be back with you tomorrow to break down the first Pelicans game. Now go make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd doing incredible stuff all the time. He is the GOAT of fantasy basketball right now. Go check it out. And thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.